without further ado, here is Mr. Barry Winograd.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another live WDCB broadcast from the PianoForte studios, 1335 South Michigan Avenue in Chicago. I'm Barry Winograd, and today we have a special visitor from Italy, ECM recording artist Stefano Battaglia. He's joining us today to talk about his music, play a little piano, and offer a preview of his upcoming concert Saturday night here at PianoForte, presented by the Italian Cultural Institute of Chicago. The PianoForte Foundation is a not-for-profit entity dedicated to preserving and promoting the art of the piano in Chicago. More information about PianoForte and the upcoming event Saturday night is available at pianofortefoundation.org. And now let's welcome Stefano Battaglia to the PianoForte studios. Stefano Battaglia. Here on WDCB and DCB Jazz, I'm Barry Winograd, and we're coming to you live from the PianoForte Foundation, 1335 South Michigan Avenue. And good afternoon, Stefano, and welcome to Chicago. You haven't been here in a while, and we're glad to have you here in town.
I'm honored.
And what was the name of the piece we just heard?
I just play.
You just played it.
Improvisation, yes.
All right.
I like to meet piano and try to speak with them.
With it? Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, let's start there. That was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, well, spontaneous improvisation. Obviously, it's not totally spontaneous because you come to the piano with a lot of knowledge, a lot of musical knowledge. But as you sit down and you start to play and you start to develop an idea, the listener, how does the listener join your development of those ideas and become part of that enjoyment that you're bringing to us from the piano?
Yeah, it's. I think it's important to try to tell something and to tell a story, even when the figures and the narration is very simple. Sometimes it's important try to say something, and for this reason I'm very involved to improvisation because it's a way to be there with the instrument and to stay in the present, and which is a privilege because sometimes musicians live or in the past, or we have a model in mind.
Sound.
Yeah. It's always a surprise what we play in the present, especially when it's not a composition, especially when you don't know which kind.
When you sat down, or when you sit down, or when you begin a piece with your trio, do you have a certain idea in mind? At first you want to play slow with a little bit of notes, or do you want to play fast with a lot of notes at once and then take it from? Do you have an idea of where you want to start and possibly where you want to finish?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes we play real compositions. For example, today we will play a program of compositions, but especially in solo piano, I like to be completely in the present, in the here and now.
So if you hear a freight train going by outside of the studio, that might say, all right, let's start with the freight train and go from there.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, can we get you to play another piece?
Yes.
Okay. This is Stefano Battaglia, and again, he's going to be at PianoForte tomorrow night, Saturday night at 7 p.m., and you can get tickets and further information, of course, from their website, which is pianofortefoundation.org. Stefano Battaglia. Stefano Battaglia here on DCB Jazz, and he is with us live here at PianoForte Foundation. And we're listening to him perform. And tomorrow night, you're going to be performing with a bassist and a drummer as well, or drummer percussionist, we should say. Are these two gentlemen you've worked with for a long time?
Yes. It's our 10 years anniversary.
Wow, that's wonderful.
It's a real marriage. Now.
Do you remember their names?
Yes, of course. I can see them. How can I forget? Salvatore Maiore from Sardinia on double bass, and Roberto Dani on percussion. He's a drummer, but from 5-6 years he used prepared drums. So it's a combination between percussion action and a real drummer rule.
I'm not sure I know what a prepared piano is, when you put a piece of tin foil in or different things so that when you play a key, it has a little different sound. What does a prepared drummer do?
Oh, it's there is a skelter of the drum set, but around the skelter is real different, and the sound is different too. And
Well, I must say I saw your trio on YouTube last night. I was watching, and I believe I saw a number of items I wasn't quite sure about. And if you want to go to YouTube and look these guys up, you can see what Stefano's talking about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when you've been together for 10 years now, and that's a wonderful long time. How long did it take you to develop a conversation, be able to think about how you were going to play with each other and make it sound good or sound comfortable with each other in the improvisatory style that you work in?
Oh yeah, it's a complex story, because for European musicians, of course, have a lot of different influences, because American jazz is for improvisers is a big influence, and of course we have our heroes, and of course Salvatore Roberto knows my heroes of the past, and they are involved too at the same time with the same languages and favorites during the jazz history. And then we have a lot of we call it classical music, but sometimes it's a little bit strange to call it
well,
somewhere.
like jazz, it's one big umbrella, and underneath that umbrella, many different raindrops, as it is today.
Yeah. Now names are really too poor. But we have a lot of influence from the European music, of course, and then I try to go through a much more universal way to think about music. So try to cut my very important legacy with traditions, and try to play music pre-idiomatic.
No, I understand. And in your music, I felt like I was hearing a lot of folk songs, Italian folk songs, Italian sounds, sounds that are part of your music. And that's what jazz is all about. It represents what America is all about. It's a mixing pot of sounds from the whole globe, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of a wonderful thing, you've got a new recording in October honoring the great composer Alec Wilder.
Yeah.
Now, how do you approach his songs? Obviously, his songs have a beginning and end and direction within them. Did you follow his direction, or did you take his songs and then make them into Stefano's music?
Yeah. It's a 12 years work.
Wow, 12 years.
Long, yes. Because on 1995, a musicologist, Italian musicologist called Marcello Piras. I don't know if you. And asked to me to play the European premiere of Alec Wilder piano and oboe sonata.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And we played that in Cagliari and in Rome, and I never heard Alec Wilder before, and I remember the second tempo was very connected with Bill Evans' voicings, and Bill Evans has been one of my big hero since I was very young, and so from that moment on, I go through the Alec Wilder's music, and then I discover a wide treasures of popular music, classical music, art songs music, as he called it, when he wrote music on poem. Contemporary poem from American poetry like Tennessee Williams or Christina Rossetti or William Butler Yeats, and this music is unbelievable, unbelievable rich, and it's a mystery to me why for American jazz players and musicians and improvisers, interpreters, Alec Wilder is not so well known and performed.
Well, not a lot of his songs, but a few of his songs have certainly become. And I'm thinking actually Bob Rockwell, the tenor player who now lives in Europe, he did a album full of Alec Wilder songs with a number of European musicians 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, do you think we could get you to play something by that's Alec Wilder?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
okay.
yet, because the album will be out on October, and even tomorrow we will play our repertoire with my own composition, and I like to save the Wilder's music for the next year.
Okay, well, that's
we
something.
Could play.
Let's put that on the calendar, Thomas, for next year.
yeah. We could play. I think 5 days with different
song
program, because I work on more than 60 Alec Wilder songs.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a wide work.
So how are you going to, and it's a one CD set, one CD recording? So
Painful.
From 60 down to 6.
Yes.
Well, why don't we get you to play something? Do you have, tomorrow night you'll be with a trio. Is there something you can play for us as a solo that we'll hear as a trio tomorrow night? Get a nice little, hear how it is solo piano and then hear how it is when you add bass and drums?
To play in solo, what we play.
Do you have? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's hear something then. This is Stefano Battaglia, and this is at WDCB. It's DCB Jazz. I'm Barry Winograd. We're live from the PianoForte Foundation, and further information on tomorrow night's show here at PianoForte at 7 p.m. You can get that at pianofortefoundation.com. .org, pianofortefoundation.org. Stefano? Stefano Battaglia on DCB Jazz. You're listening to DCB Jazz. I'm Barry Winograd. I'm here with Stefano at the PianoForte Foundation in Chicago. Again, he'll be here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in trio format. And that was a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what I really have been enjoying is you seem to find these short little riffs, these short little musical ideas, and then you work it out for a while, and then all of a sudden I'm going, wait a minute, there's another musical riff. He left that one and he moved to another one.
Yeah.
And it's so smooth and wonderful. And those are things, though, that an audience, I think, will need to remember as they listen to this style of music, is that you hear a little bit of a musical idea, see how the musicians develop it, work it. And I'm sure in your trio format, it's the same way. Your bassist, your drummer, yourself come up with a either rhythmic, melodic, or harmonic idea, and then everybody says, yeah, and off you go, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to that. I wanted to ask you, you've recorded in many different formats and performed since a young man in many different styles. Well, in the last 3 or 4 years. And one that I find interesting is you've done some duos with just percussion.
Yes.
Do you find, how do you approach that? Is that a different way to approach playing when you just are working with a percussionist and not a bassist, or obviously not as a solo pianist?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
And how do you think about that before you get there? I mean, obviously you don't anymore. You just sit down and do it. But as a beginner, when you first started doing that, was it odd? Was it different? Was it difficult to start to perform in that duo setting?
Well, it's a chance for a piano player to go back to the real source of the piano genetic. It's a percussion instruments, and with so many different sounds. Of course, 88 of them are well tuned, but of course,
Knock on wood.
But especially in duo with percussions, I like to prepare piano, some strings, and it's a dialogue between a very sophisticated percussion instruments with other kind of member of the family. And I had privileged meetings in the past with great historical percussionists like Tony Oxley and Pierre Favre in the early 90s, and from that moment on, I tried to develop a duo format, a duo piano percussion format, and is one of my favorite format with at the same level for my solo performances and trio format.
Now, when you are performing, do you, as we've seen many wonderful pianists do, preset the piano, and they, as you said, you do. Do you also take a mallet and hit the legs or hit on the inside and use the piano? Because for those who don't know, musicians consider the piano the total instrument. It's the rhythm section. It's the percussion section. It's the trumpets. It's the violin section. It's everybody in that wonderful instrument. Yeah. So do you use that as well? The opportunity
that become from my knowledge about two very famous partiture scores from American composer John Cage, called Totem Ancestors and Music Changes. And I play for 7 years these two pieces as an interpreter, and I pick up from that. No, maybe pick up is not the right word. I use the
Use the influence.
the same kind of preparation. So
Okay.
it's gum mostly and the wood and
Now, everyone's going to ask, do you chew the gum first? Is the gum used
no.
or is it new?
no, it's the one for using for cancel.
Gum as in not in chewing gum.
No, chewing gum. I think
As in
Fazioli
office gum.
is not happy
Okay.
No,
well, I've seen people, not,
with chewing gum.
yes, not used, new. And you put it on, you get a different sound.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't, Thomas wouldn't allow you to do that, so that's okay.
No, I think strings are not happy with chewing gum.
No. But so in other words, you do prepare your piano at
Yeah.
times. Now tomorrow night, will you have two pianos, one that's prepared and one isn't, or are you going to use one piano to
Only one piano.
just one piano?
Yeah.
And will you prepare it for certain pieces?
No, but in trio, I think it's. I like to separate my also my technical gestures between trio and duo.
So you feel some things you'd rather do on a duo and some
Yeah.
things as a trio
completely
and
different.
a solo.
Yeah.
Alright.
I like to create a sound with bass and drums, very connected with the melody and of course tuning is very important for melody, and so for this reason preparation it's not necessary from the piano, and then I have wonderful sounds from double bass and the drums.
Now, speaking of tuning, I know some drummers actually tune their drums. They'll make the drums all in E flat or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you do that with your drummer? Have you said to him, "Hey, let's tune the drum this way, and your tom that way, and your bass drum this way"?
I mean, it's not an ideology or a philosophy.
Right.
But I think it's very important, for example, with students, talk about the harmonical rule of drums in the quartet format or in trio format, because sometimes drummers are not aware about the fact that bass drums, cymbals are harmonical instruments, and the tympanum, as well as in the symphonical orchestra, has a harmonical rule, and the only one difference is the tuning. So on tympanum or on the symphonical tympanum, you can tune the notes.
Right. Well, the timpani has a foot pedal, so you can change while you're playing. Yeah.
And I think with the for example with the trio, with the harmonical instruments, it's very important to have for example less harmonical and resonances, and more melodical sounds with less resonance. But of course, for example, if it's a trio with voice and drums and bass, it's completely different. So the drummers could tune the bass drum very low and resonant, because the harmonical rule is very important, and there is much more space for the harmony of the drums.
All right. Well, I have one more question, then hopefully we'll get one more song from you. Keith Jarrett, He's well known as the Colm Concert and many others. He just put out a new recording called Creation, where he goes on and he does solo concerts, and sometimes it's a 7-minute piece, sometimes it's a 35-minute piece. Have you ever stretched out that far on one piece of music? I have to ask, have you ever improvised for 25, 30 minutes in concert?
Yeah, even 3 hours.
Wow.
I think for a musician, it's a privilege. I'm not sure for the audience, but but I mean for the musician, it's a real apnea. You know, apnea. I don't know if it's the right word.
When you go underwater without breathing, and you stay underwater for a long time without breathing.
Go underwater without breathing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the quality of the concentration is amazing. It's unbelievable. It's a real privileged way to stay into the music.
So while you're playing, you really don't know what's going on
No.
out there. You're just totally
Just-
and eventually you get to page 347 and it's done.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's a real. It's a spiritual. It's a spiritual experience for a musician because you are into the sound and you lose the time.
Well, and sometimes that occurs for 90 seconds, and sometimes it occurs for a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Well, we have about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get 3 minutes of music from you?
It's
Don't worry.
it's
if you
not
go
a
too
spiritual
long,
experience, but
no,
it's a musical
It's a
experience.
musical experience. And spirit, it could be anything you want. Stefano Battaglia, DCB Jazz. Stefano. Stefano Battaglia. Thanks for listening to WDCB's live broadcast with Stefano Battaglia from PianoForte, Chicago. Stefano and his trio will perform here at PianoForte on Saturday at 7 p.m., the event presented by the Italian Cultural Institute of Chicago, and we thank them for their assistance with today's broadcast. More details on Saturday's concert are available online at pianofortefoundation.org or through our own website at wdcb.org. Thanks, as always, to Thomas Zoles and Victor Lejeune from the Pianoforte Foundation for their help with the broadcast. Thanks also to Bill Tennant, Paul Abella, Clarice Gavoris, Ken Scott, and Dan Bindert at WDCB. And thanks again, of course, to Stefano Battaglia for joining us this afternoon. Our next live broadcast here at PianoForte occurs during Chicago Blues Fest week on Thursday, June 11th at noon, when we'll be delving into the blues piano of Brother John Kaki. That event will be free to attend and live on the radio here at WDCB. Stay with us for DCB Jazz with Paul Abella. I'm Barry Winograd, and thanks again for listening, and have a great jazz-filled weekend.